How can we practically incorporate the 7 Hermetic Principles into our lives? After all, isn't that the essence of our study on this journey? Aren't we here to learn how to effectively shape our reality and manifest our desires? So, in today's video, we'll delve into the heart of these laws and principles, showing how they can be used together to transform our lives. As I've mentioned in previous videos, knowledge of these principles is valuable, but in order to reap the rewards, we need to apply them in practice. So let's start this journey. The first Hermetic principle is the law of mentalism, which describes that the all is mind, as we discussed in depth in a video here on the channel about this law. I particularly find this principle the most challenging of all, because to fully understand it requires a lot of meditation and practice. The principle of mentalism is not merely an idea, it is the starting point from which the alchemical processes of creation emerge. It represents an inexhaustible source of potential, a reservoir that holds infinite possibilities. Each event, each occurrence, can be compared to a series of stimuli that find their way into the labyrinth of our consciousness. The very essence of our encounters, the canvas on which life paints its colors, resides within the limits of our cognition. This understanding, although fundamental, serves as a gateway to grasping the essence of this principle. But I'll leave the link in the description to the video we made about this principle. It's a very profound principle, so I recommend that you watch it so that you can understand it in more detail. This principle alone is the foundation of everything we do here. What we do is use our mind to bring about changes in our reality. But there is a more practical way of applying this principle when we combine it with the second, the principle of correspondence, which states, "As above, so below, as within, so without." If we already understand that all is mind, and we understand that what happens above must be reflected below and vice versa, this implies that our own mind, even though it is unique, is a similar manifestation to the universal mind, the divine mind, so to speak. It means that, just as everything is created in the divine mind, we are also capable of creating in our own mind, which I wouldn't call smaller, but a more personal expression. I strongly recommend that you watch another video here on the channel about this principle, where I explain it in more depth. All the videos I mention here will be placed in the description, don't worry. I hope you understand that understanding these two principles is the true basis of manifestation of the law of attraction. Now, if we know that we can create with our mind, the first step is to take care of our thoughts. It may seem that if you're inexperienced, have never practiced meditation, or are just starting out on this path, your thoughts will simply arise, and in a way, that's true. They can appear, but it's up to you to accept their reality. When we are faced with negative thoughts, such as the feeling of poverty, the inability to acquire what we want, tiredness, or bad weather conditions, it is important to remember that we can redirect these thoughts. We can consciously choose not to give power to these negative thoughts. When such thoughts arise, don't pay attention to them, simply let them go. Just close your eyes, watch them, and let them go. This practice can be done in silence, especially when we are alone. It may seem simple, but when applied, it can be surprisingly effective. The key to this practice is to understand that thoughts are like objects that we can choose to pick up or let go of. We need to consciously select the thoughts that serve our purpose. We should enthusiastically welcome positive thoughts that reinforce our belief that something good is happening in our life, such as, "Today is a wonderful day." This may seem strange at first, but over time you will see the power this practice has to transform your experience and your life. Because as we gain more control over our thoughts, we can even begin to create deliberate positive thoughts. The third principle we will explore is the principle of vibration, and this principle plays a fundamental role in the law of attraction. A deep understanding of the principle of vibration can grant much more than simply imagining. Feeling is extremely powerful, and feeling is also vibration. This principle integrates perfectly with the principle of polarity. For example, by recognizing that love and hate are essentially the same emotion, but at opposite ends of the emotional scale, we understand that emotions are vibrations. And by understanding that we can consciously raise or lower these vibrations to experience different emotions, a world of possibilities unfolds before us. You can control your emotions, and by combining this knowledge with the previous exercise on thoughts, you can dive deeply into each positive thought, embrace it, feel it, and amplify that feeling. So try to focus on your emotions when you feel good and work to maintain this positive vibe. Know that it is possible to sustain that vibration, and in doing so, you will manifest more of what is aligned with that vibration. Because when you feel something, you become that feeling. So feel your desire. Feel the desire in you. This understanding and practice of the principle of vibration can open doors to a life full of possibilities. As I've mentioned the principle of polarity, this will be the next to be discussed. Everything is double. Everything has poles. Everything has its opposite. The equal and the unequal are the same. Opposites are identical in nature but different in degree. Extremes touch. All truths are half-truths. All paradoxes can be reconciled. This is undoubtedly one of the most curious and revealing Hermetic laws. You probably know the expression, two sides of the same coin. So, this principle of polarity is something like that. Cold and hot, for example, are identical in nature but different in degree. I imagine someone might say, this idea is too obvious. Okay, it might be, but why don't people apply it in their lives? Understanding this law can help us become more aware of our emotions and thoughts and improve our control over them. For example, if we are feeling anger or hatred towards someone, we can use the law of polarity to recognize that these feelings are simply one degree of emotion, and that we can shift our focus to the other end of the spectrum, love. This recognition can be the first step in transforming our negative emotions into positive ones. For those who master this law, they can transmute even their fear into courage. This is called mental alchemy. Thus, in the principle of polarity, we understand that the poles are nothing more than two extremes of the same element, but to different degrees on the same scale. Equal and unequal are the same thing, because in everything, they depend on the degree of absence or presence of the same element. Now let's move on to the next point, the principle of rhythm. Everything has an ebb and flow. Everything has its tides. Everything rises and falls. Everything manifests itself through compensated oscillations. The measure of movement on the right is the measure of movement on the left. Rhythm is compensation. Just as we learned that everything has two poles in the principle of polarity and that nothing is stable, in the principle of vibration, the principle of rhythm tells us that the universe is governed by a movement similar to that of a pendulum or a cycle, by saying that everything has an ebb and flow and that everything rises and falls. When the principle says that everything has its tides, it alludes to the principle of correspondence, through which we can see the macrocosm within a microcosm. So we can say that this principle is nothing more than a form of compensation. Without it, the all would flow in a linear fashion and we would live moving towards a single extreme of polarity. However, the all is always in search of balance, and its pendulum movement reflects this search for compensation. Oscillations arise because there are limits to each extreme. Everything oscillates, including our mind, and when this is understood, we develop the understanding that even difficult moments will come to an end. Understanding and respecting our own rhythms is one of the ways to apply the principle of rhythm in everyday life. Each person has their own rhythm, And it's important to understand that this can vary according to the moment of life and circumstances. It's important to pay attention to the body's signals, such as tiredness, hunger, and sleep, in order to respect the needs of the moment. It's also important to respect natural cycles, such as the alternation between work and rest and the change of seasons. By respecting these rhythms, it is possible to live in a more balanced and healthy way. The sixth principle is the principle of cause and effect, which teaches us that there are no coincidences. Nothing happens by chance. Every event, every circumstance is the result of a previous cause. When we understand that all is mind and that as above, so below, we realize that our mind reflects the divine mind. So, the biggest drivers of our lives are our thoughts, whether positive or negative. The principle of cause and effect explains the universal dynamics of events on various levels. By saying that every effect has its cause, the principle affirms that, in the mental all in which we are immersed, nothing is by chance. It only exists to name that which we don't yet know the cause of. We often experience the principle of cause and effect in everyday life, which makes it a little easier to understand. Let me give you a simple example. If we neglect our food, cause, we are expected to have health problems, effect. If we take care of a plant every day, cause, it will be more likely to flower, effect. This principle deepens the understanding of the previous exercise, emphasizing that you now become the main author of your own life. The future effects you experience will be a consequence of the thoughts you nurture today. In the same way, the life you live in the present is largely the effect of the thoughts you cultivated for months, years, and even decades ago. Part of this can be influenced by your parents, by the subconscious message you received during childhood. Notice that at no moment have I talked about destiny here, only that for every effect there is a cause that justifies it. And what happens is that when we don't know it, we call it chance. So, it's extremely important to take control of your subconscious mind. When you recognize that nothing is random and that everything is determined by your own thoughts and mental creations, you must be cautious about what you allow to occupy your mind. Remember, you are the active creator of your reality. Your life is a manifestation of your mental choices. Finally, we come to the principle of gender, an underestimated jewel, but one of great importance, as it offers us a deeper understanding of how creation operates. It operates through the feminine and the masculine, which together create a balance necessary for the existence of every form of life. However, the principle of gender brings something new. It is from it that all our potential for creation, generation, and regeneration arises. Nothing can be created without the alliance between feminine and masculine elements. The essence of the feminine is linked to fertility, receptivity, the conception of ideas, intuition, and creativity. The essence of the masculine is expressed through logic, rational power, driving force, impetus, and protection. No idea is realized without some action, so creation will always come from the combination and balance of masculine and feminine energies. A good example of gender can be found in the atom, a cloud of negative corpuscles around a positive one. And from the atom and the interaction between these forces comes the construction of all things. The principle explains that gender manifests itself on all planes. In other words, not only on the physical plane through the male and female sexes, but also on the mental and spiritual planes. So, attributes of the two genders can be expressed not only in physical characteristics, but also in the way of thinking, acting, and the energy that is emanated. As already explained in the Kybalion, the principle of gender always operates in the direction of generation, regeneration, and creation. All things and all people contain within them the two elements of this great principle. All male things also have the female element. All female things have the male element. To live in a balanced way, it is important to seek a balance between the masculine and feminine polarities within ourselves. This means recognizing and honoring both masculine and feminine energy in our actions and thoughts. Our masculine and feminine characteristics seek balance and harmony within us all the time. For example, we often thrive in an environment of action. In other cases, creativity serves us best. The amazing thing is that we naturally know how to fit what we need into a given moment. So discover ways in which your masculine and feminine sides want to be nurtured. All these Hermetic principles work together to create a magnificent whole, creation. It's all about creation and expansion, and that's what we're doing here. Expanding our minds and creating what we want, accessing all the possibilities that exist. So, try to understand these Hermetic principles as they can open doors to a life of conscious creation and expansion, where you become the co-creator of your destiny and manifest what you desire, step by step, with patience and confidence. Thank you for embarking on this journey with me. If this video resonated with you, I invite you to like and subscribe to our channel. Share this video with others so they can benefit from this message. And don't forget to leave a comment below sharing your thoughts, reflections, and experiences. Thanks again for watching and for joining me. Take care and see you soon.